Hello Redshifters, this video is about using Redshift with Xgen. So what I have here is a simple single plane, nothing spectacular. It has a texture applied to it and I'm using a Lambert shader for the moment. Okay, this is quite actually irrelevant because I don't need it for the moment. I'm just using it to show you what I'm planning to get using Xgen. So let's try first to generate something. So I'm gonna go here for create description, removable splines, create, and I'm getting this kind of round distribution. This is how Xgen works. This video is not about grooming and styling with Xgen, just about Redshift. So let's create a bit more density and probably longer hair strands. Simply preview this. Let's add the dome light and fire up Redshift. Okay, so what we get is this. Of course, for the moment, when you're creating your Xgen hair, you're getting also a hair physical shader, which frankly speaking, we don't need because we have our own. So I'm gonna assign new material. That will be a Redshift material. Whoops, nope, it should be not a Redshift material, it should be a hair material. So Redshift hair. And I'm gonna delete this physical shader and I'm gonna delete the Redshift material. And well, if I want to texture this, how this was textured, I'm thinking about connecting this logo to the internal reflection and the translucency. Okay, these are the ones that have weight bigger than 0 by default. And let's see what we get. Let's render this. Well, it seems to work, right? And if I, for instance, put this on 2 and 2 repeats, we get something, right? The question is this correct? Well, let's see. If we put the exact same thing, nope, it's not quite there. As you can see, there's a bit of a difference, right? This is not ideal for the shading, but you know what? I can get probably a different HDRI, actually an HDRI, and this will make it probably better looking. Okay, so this is not quite matching, right? Okay, let's say that's fine. For some reason, let's say that's fine. But usually you're not gonna have just one face, you're gonna have more than that. So let's assume this is divided like so. I have 4 faces now. Okay, and I'm creating the same thing. Generate, create description, global. And you're gonna notice that, well, this is a bit more it's closer to the actual shape, right? And again, I'm gonna do the same thing. Increase this, increase that, kind of like so. Preview this, get the description, assign that hair, and you're gonna notice one thing. You're not gonna get one texture, but you're gonna get tiles. And these tiles are a bit weird as well. So this is not working at all because it's not picking up the UVs from the actual surface. It's happens is the following. Let me delete this. Xgen, it's outputting UVs on per face basis. So for each face in your geometry, you're gonna have a 0-1 UV space. And that can be messy. In this case, I'm only having this very nice and uniform surface, but you might not have that, so that's not working at all. So how do we go about this? Well, you know what? I'm gonna insert a bit of edge loops here, just to make this a bit denser. Okay, and when I'm gonna create the actual description here, I'm gonna get bit the Xgen hair a bit closer to the actual surface, as you can see here, right? So this is closer. Well, it's rounds up a bit on the edges, on the corners here, but other than that, it's fine. Okay, so let's preview this and assign that shader to the description. We're talking about the same shader. Let me get rid of those two hair physical shaders that we don't need. And now what we're gonna get, of course, it's this bit, as you can see here, repeated several times, and that's not what we want. We want to use the UV. And if you're looking at the UV space here into the UV editor, you're gonna see that this is normalized, and that's correct. What we want is our hair to use the exact same UVs. How do we do about that? Well, the way this works is the following. Because we're getting UVs from the Xgen, on per face basis, we have to create a custom shader parameter. So I'm gonna create here a color. I'm gonna name this hair color. You can name it whatever you want. It has to be a color. I'm gonna click plus here, and I'm gonna go and create a map. And as soon as I create a map, you see here, custom underscore color custom, and then hair color. Gonna click create, and this, as you can see here, it creates a texture connected to a Lambert shader, right? So now I can get the texture that I want. So let's get to rsdev. Actually, you know what? I have the texture right here. So I have all this here. Gonna press Ctrl V, and as you can see, this so it says IFF. It doesn't matter. This color, and we're gonna get to this Xgen. So what I did was actually pushing this logo with the string that's here into this texture by just typing in the name or browsing for it, and I'm pushing this into this custom attribute. Now all I have to do is save, okay, and that will be saved into the Xgen description. Now of course, if I look at this, there's no change, right? And you can see here that if I'm rotating, there's no change. So that's not working. Well, yes, it's not working yet. So I'm gonna disconnect these two here. What I'm gonna get is an attribute lookup node. And this attribute lookup node is looking for a parameter on an object, right? So what I'm gonna look for, the attribute name will be hair color, okay, and I'm gonna connect the out color to the internal reflection and translucency. And lo and behold, that gives us exactly what we need. There you go. Okay, that's all there is to it, and that works for having a different color per strand based on the underlying UV map. Now, how about the length? Okay, how about I would like to have something along the length of the strand. So if I'm looking like from the sides, I'm getting, well, I'm pretty much getting that. Okay, so what I would like to do is have a bit of control over the root and the tip of my hair. Well, for this we have the hair position. Okay, and the hair position node is actually outputting the UV coordinates along the strand. So all I need now is a ramp, which I'm gonna get rid of the UV coordinates, and I'm gonna connect my UV coordinates and replace this attribute lookup with my ramp. Okay, and that gives us a black to white ramp, right? And just to show it to you, I'm gonna put it right here and put this on none. And as you can see here, you're getting red, and then you're getting black and white for the tip. And by the way, these are ribbon modes. Okay, Maya does not support for the moment hair rendering in cylinder or strand mode, only ribbon mode. So you get this. Now that's very good for well, for creature, and it renders quite fast. but it's not ideal for extreme close-ups, right? So that's why what you're seeing here, this white and this, well, this should be black there, but it's not, because you have reflections on the hair as well. The reason you're seeing black here, white here, is because, well, that's kind of created at the exact edge or tip of the hair, right? So that's why you don't want this to be quite no interpolation. Okay, so let's put this on linear again, and that means I can multiply, if I want, I can multiply the ramp with the attribute lookup, and I can do a lot of things, okay, just by multiplying them together. What I'm interested right now is to vary this a bit. So right now we've seen how we can map something along the strand, we have seen how we can map something along the UVs of the underlying surface, but we need a bit of randomization as well. So what I'm gonna use here, it's another node called hair random color. Okay, and what this does is the following. Let's connect this to the internal reflection. Okay, so it starts with the color, and then it randomizes it based on hue, saturation, or value. Okay, so this might be a bit too saturated, so I'm gonna desat it a bit, maybe not that much. And then I can play with the hue, saturation, and value randomization. So for instance, if I turn the value randomization to 1, I'm gonna get, well, quite a lot of differences in luminance. Okay, so because we're gonna have dark hair and light hair, but no saturation or hue differences. If I want to have this saturated a bit more or less, I'm gonna add a bit of saturation here, and you're gonna notice this. I'm gonna just drive down the value to 0. You're gonna notice that I have here more or less saturated, but it's the exact same color. I haven't changed the color. Now if I want to add different hues, I'm adding different hues using the hue amount. Usually you want to keep this really small, just small variations. Okay, you don't want to go too crazy with this, because it will might create something, a bit of a mess. Okay, so this is how it works. Now if you want to have this as actually your color from the attribute lookup, which gives us the logo, remember? See, this gives us, let's see, the Redshift logo texture. You know what, I need more light in here. Maybe not that much. Okay, so we have a bit more light, but the thing is we also have a bit of variation, so not everything is perfect, because we have this random color which randomizes the color that gets as an input, right? It just shifts the hue around, a bit of saturation and a bit of value. If I go crazy, for instance, you're gonna see that, well, this becomes a complete, well, random mess, if you want. Okay, and the same thing will happen with the saturation. As you can see, it kind of loses its shape, and same for the value. Right, so be careful with this, because you can go to really crazy results, so just be gentle with this randomization. But that's about it, and of course you can also multiply this, or use the ramp, for instance, to drive this randomization if you want, by connecting this ramp into the saturation or value amount, or even using the this ramp, for instance. You can connect it like this and use the hair random color and the attribute lookup as inputs here, right? So we can do something like this, and you're gonna have the roots which will be black, and you're gonna have the actual tips which will be this color, which is the hair randomization plus the UV map. So this opens up a lot of flexibility for you as a user. Of course, as always, if you have any questions, just ask them on the forum. We're there to help you. Now, this is how Redshift works with Xgen, and it is my understanding that the same thing happens with Xgen in other different render engines. So I hope this bit of a trick helps you out with your renderings, being Redshift or not. It always helps. Happy Redshifting, guys. Cheers.